YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with another episode of Terrible Take Tuesday. Taking a look at all these random, bold, and terrible takes around the NFL sent in by you guys through our Twitter. If you want to send something in for next week's episode, NFL related, you can go to our Twitter at Goat House NFL. Always interacting with you guys, talking football on there, keeping you guys involved. So you're going to want to follow that Twitter. There's a link down below, description and comments, along with our podcast and other platforms that you may want to follow/subscribe to. Recently hit 50K. We're shooting for that 60K goal by week one. Definitely think we can do it, so really need your help there. Subscribe to both channels. More content coming to the newer channel in the future. But moving on to the terrible takes sent in by you guys here. The first one sent to us by Astronaut559. We can get a follow train going. Everyone can follow anybody that makes this series here, and then you may get some follows back. Help each other out here. But he sent offensive tiers. Looks like an Instagram post, perhaps. So they're not labeled, but the top tier is top tier, obviously, and the bottom tier, the bottom. So we see, the top teams make sense. Maybe it's a little bold putting the Cowboys, even though their offense was pretty explosive last year. So maybe that's just a little bold. No problem there. Second tier, the Panthers seem kind of out there. We're definitely not expecting the Panthers in tier 2 of the offensive tiers for 2020. They do have new coaches, Matt Rule, Joe Brady, see what he did with LSU. It could transition. It's a different step here for the NFL, but having Teddy Bridgewater, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore taking another step, now they got Robbie Anderson. This could be a sneaky, I'd say a sneaky good offense. Really could be. I would not put them in tier 2. The Broncos, I'm a big believer in the Broncos. It's still kind of surprising to see them in tier 2. So maybe that one's a little bold. Maybe a little bold there. The Packers, you kind of expect to be, maybe not the receiver room in general to be there. They weren't there last year. The defense really helped them. Maybe Aaron Rodgers steps up, so that's one's maybe a tiny bit bold. Look at tier 3. The Niners. On paper, the Niners don't look like they should be better than that, honestly. But because of the coaching, because of the system, and they do have some playmakers, a good offensive line, maybe you kind of expect them to be better than that. Look at, the Chargers. I wouldn't put that high. Rookie quarterback, or is it Tyrod Taylor? Either way, I don't know if the Chargers' offense is better than some of the teams that are below them. And Astronaut circled these, by the way. I did not circle these, but he's got the Panthers circle. The Niners makes sense. And you see the tier below. You see Steelers. The Steelers definitely should be at least one tier higher. Same with the Eagles, at least one tier higher. Vikings, you probably expect them a tier higher, depending on Dalvin Cook, but that one's maybe a little more bold, not terrible. And then you look down to the bottom tier. I'm assuming this was maybe before Cam Newton signed with the Patriots. So maybe we could bump the Patriots up a little bit. I think it depends on who starts at quarterback for the Bears. But I think if Foles starts, which I think happens, they are much better than bottom tier. I think it just fits Nagy's system too much. They have some playmakers. And the Raiders probably should be better. Still really not sure what to expect from them. We know they're going to have a good running game. Questionable is Derek Carr, I guess. Inconsistent, top tier almost. First 6 games last year or so, then really fell off. So the Raiders definitely could be better in top tier. So that's a pretty good one, pretty terrible one, good one at the same time. Moving on from Panda Killer 99. You can follow him there, Panda Killer 991. Every team's chance to make the playoffs. So the NFC on the left, AFC on the right. So basically they're ranking the teams by playoff chances. NFC, I was surprised to see the Vikings number 3 on there. So I don't know if that's terrible. It's very bold. Have them out of the Seahawks. Have them easily top of the NFC North. A lot of young players now, so that doesn't really mean they're not going to be good. But having them 3 is interesting. Mainly ahead of the Seahawks. Cowboys, Eagles in about the same range there. That's really not surprising. But I think that's pretty accurate, actually, now that I think about it. But you can flip them. They're close enough where it's you could just argue it and it's nothing crazy. Buccaneers, I'm a believer in the Buccaneers. Really good team. The only question is Brady, first-year quarterback on a team. Sometimes they struggle a little bit. That's kind of the only question. It's a better roster than you think. Better roster than these people think. I think they should be much higher. They should not be below the NFC East teams. They should not be below the Vikings, I don't think. Having the Rams ahead of a team like the Packers, kind of questionable. Having the Packers that low. I think that's a pretty accurate number for the Bears. I think people are sleeping. It depends on who starts at quarterback for me, really, like I talked about. I think that's a pretty accurate number. They could be sneaky good. Packers, that's a little low. NFC North is wide open. There should not be that much of a gap. Yeah, that gap between the Bears and the Packers, maybe flip them, but it's in the ballpark. But the gap between them and the Vikings shouldn't. I don't think that's accurate. I think they all should be pretty close. I think the Lions could be a little closer to them too. And a surprising one, your Cardinals. Cardinals got a pretty easy schedule. They got that game plan factor. It's a tough offense to game plan for. They added some pieces pretty much everywhere. I think they have a better shot than 19%. I did mention the Lions could be closer to the NFC North teams in terms of the number, but I do think the Cardinals should be ahead of a team like the Lions. The Falcons, that might be a surprising one that they're at low, but if you take a look at their schedule, it's rough. It's the hardest schedule in football, in my opinion, easily. So that number might be accurate, even though it looks pretty low compared to like how good the team is, the offense. Maybe it's a little low. Panthers could be sneaky. The Redskins could be sneaky because their defense, but nothing's too terrible there. Take a look at the AFC. Nothing really standing out. I'm assuming this was maybe for, I don't know, actually. Cam Newton, Patriots, I think it's pretty accurate. Now, maybe the Chargers are a little high. Chargers percentage a little high. I like their defense. It really depends on what type of season. It's more of an offensive league. The defense definitely can win games, though, because that's a really good defense. But maybe a little high because the offensive questions. I don't want to say talent because they have, I guess, talent in the right spots. Quarterback, tackle, spots like that. And coaching staff. I thought they would be fired after last year. Play calling was pretty brutal. I don't completely disagree with them keeping, but interesting. Broncos and Texans might be a little low. I think the Texans and the Colts should be pretty damn close in that percentage. They should be really close, like really close with their number there. Broncos, I like them better than 39%. The Raiders should be ahead of the Jets for sure. I don't think the Bengals should be dead last. I think Joe Burrow's that good. I know it's first year. It's the question of the offensive line, but they got a lot of good, young, talented players that are going to continue to step up. Second-year coach. I don't think the Bengals should be last, but it's not terrible or anything. Very interesting list. Then we got from Sheep at Eric Bunzel. Top 10 states. So CBS been all over the place with these rankings. In case you haven't seen them, if you're not on Twitter, I recommend you get on there so you can follow us and all the other sports, I guess we call them shenanigans, around the league here, because looking at CBS's rankings they've been tweeting out, pretty wild. Safety rankings all over the place for the most part. Minka had a great year. There's a lot of people on the Minka hype train. I just don't, I would not put him at 2. Really not even that, definitely top 10, but not that close to 2. 2 we're talking about elite, so he can be there, just not yet. Then we see Devin McCourty did have a really good year at number 7. I think you got to put Kevin Byard higher than 9, better ranked than 9. I would have him ahead of Minka. Minka's all the way at 2. Yeah, but kind of backtracking to Tyrann Mathieu, great football player, was a key addition to the Chiefs. It's interesting because he plays all over the place. He plays in the slot a lot. He almost see him getting pressure on the quarterback a good amount compared to some of these other safeties. Jamal Adams does it quite a bit. Derwin James might do it. We didn't get to see him last year. It's tough, though, with Tyrann Mathieu because you're ranking safeties at the safety position. I like Tyrann Mathieu a lot. I don't know if I can put him number 1 at the safety position. If we're ranking these players in a top 100 list, we'll say, we're just ranking football players. We're not ranking players by position. He may be higher than some guys just because he plays all over the place. Like, he would probably be the best slot corner in the game. He plays all over the place. He's a very important piece, a very good football player. Is he the best safety in football? I guess debatable. Eddie Jackson not being on the list is pretty questionable as well. Having Earl Thomas still a good football player and a great scheme there in Baltimore. Having him ahead of Eddie Jackson of the Bears, I think a little questionable. Interesting lists. And same person sent me one for the cornerbacks. A lot of people sent me these, so I just give it to the person who sent me first, or the one I saw first. Top 10 corners. So maybe CBS on the Steelers train a little bit. You see Joe Hayden is the first one, number 3. Joe Hayden had a very impressive season last year in 2019. Considering his age, still playing at a pretty high level. I don't even put him in the top 10 probably though. Good season, impressive. At number 3, especially ahead of Jalen Ramsey and Tre'Davious White. very, very questionable there. And then, yeah, I mentioned Jalen Ramsey at 4. I think he definitely belongs in the top 3. Tre'Davious White at 7. I think he definitely belongs in the top 5. Marlon Humphrey not on the list. I do agree. Most people say Marlon Humphrey better than Marcus Peters. Yeah, maybe going forward. I'm not going to argue about it. Most people might argue about Marcus Peters at 2. I like Marcus Peters a lot. I think he's a really good corner. A little bold putting Howard in there because we didn't get to see him much last year, but I believe in him. Chris Harris Jr., always played better in the slot, but a very solid corner on the outside. We'll see where he plays this year. I don't agree with Marshawn Lattimore in the top 10. If you've been listening to me for a while, I think he's got a lot of upside, a lot of potential, and we've seen glimpses of it early in the year. First 3-4 games every single year. Looks like well in the top 10. He does. He looks like a top 5 corner first few games every single year. I don't know what happens then. I think he's a little on the overhyped side for him, so I would not include him in the top 10. So, yeah, not having Marlon Humphrey in here, too, is a little questionable. Some other guys we could talk about that could be in there. Maybe those are just a little bold, though. So definitely an interesting one. Next, Panda Killer again. He's had one already, so he's finding the best running backs 5 years from now. So fast forward 5 years into the future, who will be the best running backs in football? So what do we see here? Do we see 12? I think 12 guys plus honorable mentions at the bottom. And first one, Miles Sanders. I mean, pretty good rookie year. Is he going to be considered, one of the? He could be. I think it's a little bold. Want to see more from him. Saquon Barkley, definitely. Travis Etienne, maybe a little bold because he's not in the NFL, but that's a really good running back there. I can see it. Benny Snell is the one that stands out. Fantastic career at Kentucky. And I think this person's kind of banking on him taking over. James Conner can't stay healthy. Benny Snell. These types of backs work, more of the power, a little bit of a wiggle to him, a little bit of elusiveness to him. But, you want to see more speed maybe, but a very solid running back. But we're talking top 12 running backs 5 years from now. I'm just not sure about that. And you see only 1 year younger than a guy like Saquon Barkley, too. Josh Jacobs, definitely can see it. Zeke at 29. Could see it. Right now he's still a very solid running back, but he's not quite as good as he was 2-3 years ago. So that's just the way of the running back. So will he be that good at 29? We've already seen, I don't want to say a decline, but we've already seen him kind of dip a little bit below where he was playing, which was elite, and I don't consider him elite now. Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State, who will be 26. Definitely can see that. Maybe some fumbling issues we want to clean up, and we can see him clean it up this year. But yeah, we can see it because that guy, I think he's got every trait really. Looking at, I mean, again, the fumbling, little too many fumbles for my liking. Last year, putting the ball on the ground. Maybe not all of them lost, but it's still getting coughed up. But another year in college is great. We can see if he plays. We can see him improve upon that. But I think the size mixed with the elusiveness. But looking at that, you wouldn't think he's that fast, but he's pretty darn fast. Deep speed too. So pretty impressive. Nick Chubb at 29. At age 29, I should say. Definitely can see that coming off a career year early in his career. Kind of the question, I'm not saying this is going to happen or anything, but the question I had as a prospect for him, we've seen these injuries, beat up knees, keep coming up at Georgia, him playing through a lot of those injuries too, which is impressive, but that's the problem with the running back, start to see wear. So how long will a guy like this last? That was kind of my only one and only concern in terms of the, evaluating this running back out of Georgia. So you see what happened to Todd Gurley. He didn't. He's still going. He's on the Falcons, but we see the knee wear start to happening. Similar thing. You start to worry about Chubb. We got to see Sony Michel a lot more and see how good he was at Georgia, just because some injuries from Chubb. Christian McCaffrey, definitely see it. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I definitely see it. Jerry and Ely, definitely want to see more from him. That's a little bold there. Definitely on the younger side. And Dalvin Cook, 5 years from now, the way he is playing now, the traits he has, only 29, you definitely can see it, but you factor in the injuries, will he last that long? So another one that's maybe bold, but because of talent and only 29, you can see it. And you see honorable mention. I would throw Joe Mixon, bump Joe Mixon up, I think, too. Let's replace somebody up here. Let's get rid of Benny Snell, put Joe Mixon. These other young guys you definitely can see. If you're going to throw guys like that are pretty much in the same age group there, 29, 30 years old, I don't see why you can't put Derrick Henry in here. So missing Derrick Henry is a little questionable too. But a guy that gets a good amount of carries, so maybe you're predicting Ware, but that's a guy that you just one of those guys that you just don't see Ware happening anytime soon, really. But 5 years, I guess, isn't too soon. From Kyler Murray for MVP at Red Sea Season. Overrated offense. So these are just overrated players according to this Instagram account. I just don't know who considers Chris Godwin, Juju Smith-Schuster, who overrates those guys? Who says they're that great? And everyone's believing in Chris Godwin, a fantastic season last year. So people are starting to say he could be a top 10, maybe top 5 receiver, especially now that he has Tom Brady. So maybe that's what they're going off of, but there's really no reason to not think that. Bruce Arians, likes that new school type of slot receiver there that can do a bit of everything, and that's him. So another year in that. Now with Tom Brady, an accurate quarterback that loves those types of receivers. Everyone could be wrong that's predicting him to be good. We could be wrong, but it's almost one of those logics that are right no matter what. Even if he ends up having a bad season, it's a fine logic to think he'll be good. So I just don't see how it could be overrated. I don't know who is hyping up. Everyone likes Juju Smith-Schuster. Everyone knows he's a really good receiver. I just don't know where the overrated claim comes from. And Ebron, I think, was overrated at one point some time ago. But I think he's one of those players that gets ripped a lot. So I wouldn't call him overrated. I think the two Chargers as pictured, but now on different teams. Phillip Rivers, maybe a little bit. People are starting to believe the Colts can go far because they added Phillip Rivers. It makes sense because they got a better quarterback than they had, and they have a better offensive line for Phillip Rivers than he had and for the Chargers, for the LA Chargers. But first-year guy on a decline, so maybe a little bit overhyped. And Melvin Gordon, I don't know if I would call him overrated. Maybe overrated himself, asked for that money a year ago, but I don't know. I don't really. The only one I could agree with, which I'm not saying is definitely overrated, I'm just saying I can see it, is Phillip Rivers, really. So interesting one. This one is all over the place. This is tackle tiers, offensive tackle sent in by John. So you see, tier 1's obviously the best. This is all over the place. Looking at, I guess we'll go to tier 3. You can make the case that Laramie Tunsil could be better, but what I'm looking at here is Taylor Lewan in Tier 3. I think he's better than that. I think he's much better than that. I think he's one of the better tackles in football. I think you could put him in Tier 2 at least. But what's funny is you see his former teammate now in the Browns, Jack Conklin, is in the same tier as Taylor Lewan. It's absolutely ridiculous. Taylor Lewan is a million times better. He's proven that. Just seeing who's grouped with Taylor Lewan here is very questionable. You look at Tier 3, Maybe Garrett Bowles a little high. Having Trent Brown on the Raiders there, former Patriots offensive lineman, in the same tier as Garrett Bowles. Very questionable. Trent Brown is much better than Tier 3. Another one that stands out is or Tier 4, I should say. Is Trent Brown much better than Tier 4, probably better than Tier 3. Another one that stands out here for Tier 4 is Riley Reiff of the Vikings. He is not even close to the Vikings' best tackle. He's actually struggled recently. Brian O'Neill, it might actually be the only strong part of the Vikings' offensive line. It's a weak offensive line. Brian O'Neill is a standout guy for them, and he is not on this list at all. But him not being on the list is one thing, but having Riley Reiff on the list, and I guess would be, because since Brian O'Neill is not on the list, we would put him in Tier 7, I suppose. Having multiple tiers higher, Riley Reiff, insane, absolutely insane. So you got Tier 5, you threw the rookie for the most part. Rookies or Jonah Williams would be a first-year guy for the most part, so you can understand putting guys that have, some people want to predict how will the rookies be. Some people like this want to put the unproven guys. I can understand that. If that's your system, that's your system. But having other guys below them that are more proven, so you kind of contradict yourself here. Jawan Taylor was a rookie last year. He did fine. Charles Leno, the Bears, struggled last year. Year before, looked like a top 10, 15 tackle. It's just questionable. It's just all over the place here. It's really all over the place. They're forgetting players. There's probably some that I didn't mention off the top of my head. They're just forgetting players, so it's interesting for sure. Next, Chris Sims finally finished his top 40 QB countdown sent by Dylan here. And yeah, this is definitely all over the place. Start at the top. Yeah, no surprise there. Lamar Jackson at 5 is very questionable. Maybe he's kind of banking on teams starting to figure him out. So maybe it's a little bold. I'm going to disagree with it. Maybe we're going to call it a little bold, though. Big problem. He made this before Cam Newton signed. So maybe he was predicting him to sign somewhere and play. But having him at 10, very questionable. Always been a big Cam Newton guy. Was very high on him at Auburn. I had a feeling he would win an MVP at some point. He won one. But the last, we'll even say 3 years, we've seen a mixture of injuries, playing with injuries, accuracy problems overall. So we haven't really seen I believe in Cam Newton, but we haven't really seen a very solid Cam Newton in some time, it feels like. We haven't seen a healthy one, so that's a legitimate excuse, but having him at 10 is ridiculous. Tom Brady and Drew Brees, this is the most ridiculous part. Tom Brady at 15, Drew Brees at 16. Mind-blowing stuff. Both veteran quarterbacks. We can say they're on the decline. It's tough to say decline because they're still. I don't like putting the word decline with like really good quarterbacks, and we see Hall of Fame quarterbacks here, and they still can ball. So I don't really want to use that term, but they're definitely not the same as what maybe they're losing a little bit of arm strength. I think we all can agree on. But having that 15, 16, Tom Brady now at the Bucs, Bruce Arians, look at that receiver group, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I think he's gonna have a lot of motivation. He's gonna have a fire lit beneath him. I just see some really good play from Tom Brady. Drew Brees, Michael Thomas improving every step of the way. Alvin Kamara, we should see a better Alvin Kamara this year than we did last year. They're a consistently good team. They got a really good offensive line. They got a good coaching staff. There is no reason these guys should be below 10. Cam Newton at 10 and these guys at 15, 16. Absolutely ridiculous. Matt Stafford in the top 10. Matt Ryan feels like he's in the same track as them. Like he's not as good as the MVP season. How is he 7 and these guys are 15, 6? It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Moving down. I know he hasn't proven himself yet, but I think Joe Burrow, best quarterback prospect I've scouted, much better than 26. Maybe that's just me. Nick Foles at 31. It's about staying healthy. So if he can't stay healthy, then okay, sure. But I think plug him into the system. I think this system, that the Bears got over there, I think a lot of RPO, I think he fits it tremendously. So that maybe it'll make him look better. Maybe he'll be a system quarterback, but at the end of the day, he will be much better than a lot of quarterbacks listed, if he's healthy, listed ahead of him. And then we see Tua at 40. I know he's a rookie, hasn't proved himself, but he's much better. A guy like Taysom Hill. Football player, excellent football player, quarterback countdown. I just can't have most of these guys ranked below him. So Chris Sims, all over the place with this one, folks. And then Colin Cowherd, I think, is trolling with this one, sent in by Cameron Sullivan. Arm talent, so I guess that's arm strength, accuracy, all that combined. And he's got to be trolling. He's just got to be messing with us because Patrick Mahomes, maybe the best arm talent ever, really, in his young career, maybe the best we've ever seen, not on the list. We just talked about Tom Brady, Drew Brees. They happen to be right next to each other. Chris Sims very much underrating them, and maybe Cowherd's overrating them a little bit because they have lost a little bit of touch. Their touch passes, though, those are still pretty accurate. Maybe that's what puts them on here. Russell Wilson, very accurate, can throw on the run, makes the tight. I can understand that. Jared Goff, people might freak out about that one. He does have those glimpses. He has those plays that make you get out of your seat and go, wow. So you can kind of see those. He's got to be more consistent. But just not having Patrick Mahomes. If you're going to put Brady and Brees in here, the veterans that maybe lost the touch, then why not Aaron Rodgers? So it's really, it's bad. Just not having Patrick Mahomes alone is very bad. Moving on from John here, NFL divisions. So this is the AFC East. In their ranking them by quarterback, by running back, receiver, tight end, offensive line. We're going to look down at the offensive line. We're going to focus on the offensive line. I think there is a clear top 2 in this division. Very solid offensive lines in the NFL in general. Chiefs, Raiders. And those are 2-3. I think you take a look at. I don't think the Broncos offensive line will be as bad as people think. But you could argue them being 4 in this division for sure. Having the Chargers might be the worst in this division. They're probably worse than the Broncos, and they got them at 1. They have some weak spots. They probably got a little better at guard, trading for Turner, but tackle is a mess for sure. So So that was very quick. How you don't have the Chiefs should be 1, the Raiders should be 2. I don't really think there's any debating that. If you want to, you can debate those two. If you want, think Raiders will continue to improve. See how they went from 2 years ago to last year, then they can improve more. So you can debate the Raiders 1. My point is, if the Chiefs and Raiders aren't 1 and 2, either order, I think you're wrong. Usually I'm thinking everyone has their opinion. Anything could be debated here in the NFL. That's the beauty of it. I don't think this one. I just don't. I don't know. Next up, from Pacavavo, I don't know how to say people's names. I apologize. Updated odds to win the AFC. So in order to win so that means win the AFC Championship game. Chiefs 1, Ravens 2. Yep, that makes sense. Patriots 3. This is post Cam Newton. Maybe a little much. Maybe you're getting a little. I'm excited. We're all excited. You're getting a little too excited there. I don't know. Steelers at 4. Okay, all right. Colts. I think that having the Colts that much higher than the Titans and Texans, questionable to me. I think the Titans are the favorites. If you think the Colts or the Texans are going to win, you're not wrong. That's definitely a good prediction. It's a solid prediction. You can make the case. I just think they all should be in the pretty much the ballpark. I'm surprised to see the Titans not 1. I'm surprised to see the Colts that much ahead of the Texans. I think they're all in the ballpark. The Bills at 6, Titans 7, Browns 8. Browns and Chargers, I don't think they should be ahead of the Texans. They probably shouldn't be ahead of the Broncos. The Broncos are another team missing from here. They shouldn't be ahead of them either, in my opinion. Yeah, so I think that's where they went wrong. I think a little high the Patriots. Steelers might be nah, I'm okay with that. I think the Colts are a little high. But just the difference between the AFC South, other AFC South teams, missing the Broncos, having the Browns, Chargers over the Texans, questionable, very questionable. We had a post like this show up last week, and I was very confused by it. I just don't know what's going on with this person's post. I don't mean to put this guy on blast, but I really have no idea. Sent in by Austin B. So it's an NFL redraft linebacker. Which one is it? I was confused. They did a tight end one that made the list last week, but we're all over the place here. There's off the ball linebackers and then there's pass rusher linebackers. They're two totally different type of players. Bobby Wagner is an inside linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks. T.J. Watt, Khalil Mack, Chandler Jones, those 3 right there are pass rushers. They're 3-4 outside linebackers. They're pass rushers. Bobby Wagner and those guys are nowhere near the same type of player. They both have linebacker next to their title. They're nowhere near the same type of player. I know it gets confusing. People that play Madden, they confuse people probably with the way they put it. So we can put Madden on here. I don't know if they're going to continue to do that. But, just having these guys in the same conversation. So, Bobby Wagner's an inside linebacker. 2 through 4 are pass rushers, outside linebackers. Devin Bush is an inside linebacker. Isaiah Simmons pretty much plays everywhere. He can be. If you put Isaiah Simmons with the pass rushers, I'm not going to complain too much because the guy can play anywhere. But I consider him a 4-3 outside linebacker. So he's an off-the-ball linebacker. Jalen Smith's an off-the-ball. Patrick Queen's an inside. Having Patrick Queen in here either way is questionable. having Isaiah Simmons is probably the best linebacker prospect I've scouted, so I'm not going to complain about that one. Really, but having Patrick, this person was confused while making this, basically, and that's why it ended up on this list, I think. Moving on, Laces on Leather continue to make it here. Tristan Chapin sent this in. Top 10 juniors, so players heading into the third year. It's a pretty cool activity here, pretty cool idea. My problem, Lamar 1, Saquon 2. You probably can argue somebody else at 2, but I'm fine with that. My problem, really the 2 Colts guys. We're going to talk about the Colts here. Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, both should be in the top 4. So the top 4, I think, should be a lock of, in no order, Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard. Nick Chubb did come off a really good year. Derwin James, a lot of upside. He didn't get to play last year. So I think Quentin Nelson should be top 3, in my opinion. So having him 2 spots lower is questionable, and then having Darius Leonard. 2 things about Darius Leonard. Having him that low at 8, and Roquan Smith's a very good linebacker, but having Roquan Smith, a linebacker, ranked ahead of Darius Leonard, interesting to say the least. This is a good one. Jets Country sent this. Somebody's top 100 players is a section of it. We see 41 through 50. Aaron Donald, number 44, arguably the best player in all of football, I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes. Arguably the best defensive player, right there with Khalil Mack maybe. And number 44 overall player heading into 2020. So this person's projecting a decline, I suppose. Interesting. Very interesting. I also think something else I want to point out is that two Bucks receivers I think will be much better than that. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Sometimes when I do rankings, I'll make the rankings and I have something weird like that right next to each other where it looks kind of weird. You have two Bucks receivers. I don't know if I've ever had something like that. But it just looks, maybe a little lazy, but it could be a coincidence. They could have been they happen to be right next to each other. I guess I've had similar things for me, but they should be much higher than that, I think. 45, 46, that is. Maybe Austin Hooper's a little high, but he'll get production within that Browns system. But yeah, Aaron Donald, 44. Wow. Last one, more CBS rankings. Love it. Duck Reader sends it in. YT_Duck Reader. Pass rusher rankings. We've seen all these CBS rankings. They seem to be pretty high on the Steelers guys. TJ Watt, phenomenal talent. He continues to improve, so he could be number one. It's a little bold, though. Joey Bosa, I think, so much potential. Has been very good. I don't think he's lived up to. This is predicting this year, I suppose. So they're predicting the breakout. But I don't know about 5. I think Nick Bosa is already better than Joey Bosa. But yeah, the big one here is Khalil Mack at number 9. I think this is the best pass rusher in football. He wasn't in last year alone. He was doubled, maybe even tripled at times. He did not really have help around him because of injuries and Leonard Floyd, but they've improved that now. I just having him at 9. If you're not going to have him at 1 or 2, maybe that's bold. But now you're getting carried away at 9. Yes, they're saying that he's not even a top 2 pass rusher in the NFC North. I will give the NFC North this. Dominant pass rusher. Daniel Hunter is really progressing, really improving. He could have the most sacks out of this group. Zadarius Smith was a hell of a football player last year. Did about everything for them, but a really good pass rusher. So I'm not sitting here and saying Khalil Mack is way better than these guys. These guys can ball, but sitting here and saying Khalil Mack is number 9 and the 3rd best NFC North pass rusher is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. For sure there. So yeah, this list is kind of all over the place. Kind of all over the place here. I'm sure there's other guys we can talk about in the comments that you could consider. Let me know your thoughts down there. What you thought on some of these, how you would change some of these. Please smash that like button. Follow us on Twitter. Tweet at me. Mention me to get involved in next week's Terrible Take Tuesday. Please subscribe to both channels. Click that like button. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.